I have a question for everybody, and this will be a good one for my personal TikTok. Do you think that if you are on government-funded public assistance, that you should be required to find a job in a certain amount of time, or else you lose that assistance? Let me know what you think in the comment section.
Can I say something funny?
Yeah.
There was a thing on Twitter. This guy, he deleted the tweet because he got a lot of hate for it, but I want to know how you guys feel about it. He was saying that if you own a business and you interview someone, an interview question should be, at what age did you get your license?
Why do you say that?
Because he was saying if you got it within a certain time, then you were more driven. But then he was saying people who got it at a later time were not. And he got like a lot of
mixed reviews.
Yes.
What's your thoughts?
I'm in between.
I think I am too.
Because it's like circumstances and it just depends,
Can I give you a circumstance? Shout out to my one of my best buddies from growing up, Preston Cornegay. A lot of respect for him. I think he got his license at a later date, and it was a circumstance situation. It wasn't a driven situation because he's one of the most driven people I know. I don't think that should be an interview question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he was trying to say, like, if you want, like, hard workers, then you would kind of find people who really went for everything they could, like, as soon as they could.
Agreed.
Right, and I get it at that point, but also it's like, that doesn't really determine. I mean, because some people's parents could have just made them get it when they turned 16 or 17,
Right.
And that doesn't mean they wanted to get it.
Well, and then, when I went to Presbyterian College, there was a lot of rich people there. It's a very private school in South Carolina, and I wasn't used to that. And there's a lot of people who got A's, who drove nice cars, who did a lot of things that were driven within the confines of that school that I'm a lot more successful than now. And just so everyone knows, I wasn't driven within the confines of the school. I wasn't the best student. I got good grades in my business classes, but the other ones I might not have gone to. I actually had a 95 average, which is an A average, close to an A plus average in one of my classes, and I had missed more than you were allowed to miss from a class standpoint because I skipped, and he failed me. I'll never forget that professor. But you know what the lesson it taught me?
Scarborough, right?
No, it was Tobin Turner.
Oh.
The lesson that it taught me was it doesn't matter how well you perform if you don't meet the requirements, all the requirements. Yeah, you had an A, but also it wasn't just getting good grades that was a requirement to pass this class. It was also being here and being a participant, and that was a requirement as well. And I met the education side, but I did not meet the rest of the requirements that were part of the contract to pass, and so I failed. And it taught me that lesson, and I think it took me until today to realize that. So, in thinking back on it, but yeah, man, I think that Twitter, or it was Twitter.
Yeah, it was Twitter.
I think it's more of a circumstance thing. I don't think that's going to tell if someone's driven. You want to know what I will ask people? Did you have a lemonade stand? If you had a lemonade stand, you were probably an entrepreneur, or you like to make money, like you were doing something to try to earn money. You didn't think it should be given to you. Did you
cut grass or something? Did you mow the lawn?
Did you cut grass?
Yeah.
Did you deliver newspapers? I'm an entrepreneur now, and I make pretty good money. And that's not a brag, but my first job I was less than 10 years old, and it was as a paper boy. My grandpa would drive me around in his van, and I remember he had one of those old Astro vans, and you could keep the door open. And I played baseball and football. I was quarterback and pitcher. You can't tell now because I got fat, but I would throw the newspapers and hit the front door. Or sometimes I would ride my bike. My bike I thought it was cool. Everyone back in the day thought it was cool not to have brakes on your bike, which was probably pretty stupid. And I would ride around on the bike, and then every Saturday I'd have to go around and I would collect it. I think it was $1.25 for a subscription to this newspaper back then, which makes it sound super old. But they would come in these little yellow envelopes, and every Wednesday I would deliver them, and every Saturday I would pick them up. And it was just, that was 10 years old. Then when I was in middle school, my dad opened a restaurant, a pizzeria. I worked in that pizzeria. I remember working when he first opened for 10 hours, and I could do everything there. I was good at it because I watched my dad working in restaurants and stuff as I was growing up. And then, you know, I was there when he was setting the whole thing up, and I was just fascinated by it. And I worked a 10-hour day, and you know how much he paid me? $20. He paid me $2 an hour. I'll never forget that, which is fine. You know, back then, $20 when you're a sixth grader, dude, like, yeah, that was cool. That was one more $20 bill away from a video game. So, it was. And then after that, I went to work at this place called Cool Dipper, then Polar Freeze. So, like, I was working my entire life. I worked at Russo's Bar and Grill, making pizzas and washing dishes at the same time. I still have a scar on my arm because I stuck it in the pizza oven, like, to get the pizza out while it was wet. And if you're wet and stick your arm in a hot thing, it burns you quicker. People don't realize that. Yeah, so I remember I saved my first $800, and I got paid cash at Russo's. I saved my first $800, and I just didn't spend any of the money. And that was like, I remember I had this little, like, a wallet came in it. It was one of those, like, wood boxes. And so I just kept it stacked in there. And that's the first time I understood what rubber band money was. It was really cool seeing it. And that's why I was like, man, I fucking really like making money. And then I just worked my entire life. Remember, I worked at Pizza Hut while we were in college. Plus, I did the student assistance thing. So I think that if you have a work history of trying to work, and that doesn't mean jumping around to a bunch of different jobs, but like you're trying to work and you're trying to make money, like I think that says something. I think that if you ask people like, hey, did you trade baseball cards? Did you do this? Did you do that? I think that means more than a driver's license because that means they can barter. So they're going to be good negotiators. We have an intern here who even watched his dad. He worked too, but he cut grass. But he even watched his dad growing up, and his dad's an entrepreneur, a very successful one. And this kid is bright, man. He's 22 years old, and he has superstar written all over him. If you're watching this, sir, don't take it as a compliment. But I think there's other questions you can ask. But if you haven't done it yet, bang that red subscribe button and turn on the notifications and make sure you comment. You can follow us on all our social media. We're NBI Financial Group LLC on all of it. Here's the deal. We are doing something because we're in a recessionary time, and people are talking about how times are tough. The times are so tough that the FHFA is giving you better LLPA hits if you have low credit scores. They're taking away from those who have higher because times are tough. So you want to know what we're going to do to help out with times being tough? We're going to give away $1,000. It's either going to be cash or Bitcoin. All you have to do is bang the red subscribe button, turn on your notifications, comment on our videos with a well-thought-out thought, not just great video. Leave your Instagram handle, and we will enter you into the contest that the drawing's on September 1st for $1,000 in Bitcoin or in cash. And the more times you comment, well-thought-out comments, the more entries you get, the better your chances are to win. So make sure you go ahead and bang the red subscribe button and turn on notifications. Ben,